U.S. President Donald Trump's immigration order bans refugees from Syria. He says the move will make America safer, but in one state that voted Trump's way, a mayor sees refugees as a blessing. Nick Valencia paid a visit to a family in Clarkston, Georgia.
You're one of the best students, huh?
Yes.
Looking at all her school merit awards, it's amazing to think that 11-year-old Nuruz has only been in the U.S. for a year.
Why are you such a good girl?
I don't know.
In fact, it's only been a few months since she learned English. But if you ask her, she's already making America better.
My name is Rose, and I am a Syrian refugee. And thank you for welcoming us to our new home in America.
That's her reciting this letter that she recently read at a nearby church. Her family says an estimated half of those in attendance were Donald Trump supporters. Why does that matter? Nuruz and her family are Syrian refugees. Under President Trump's newly proposed immigration plan, families like hers wouldn't be able to come to the U.S., or as she says, they wouldn't be able to make America better.
My dreams, I want to become an actor because I want to help all of the children in the world, and I want to make America better.
Her family fled war-torn Syria 3 years ago. They've asked us not to use their last name because they're still nervous after all they've been through. Life has been especially difficult for her 14-year-old brother Alan, who has cerebral palsy. It's because of him, Nuruz says, that she wants to be a doctor. For 2 years, Nuruz and her family lived in a refugee camp in Turkey. They resettled just outside of Atlanta, Georgia, with the help of Padia Mixon at the Georgia nonprofit New American Pathways.
We are actually proactively going to refugee camps, working with the United Nations, setting up resettlement centers, and going through a careful, thought-out process.
Mixon says Americans who fear terrorist refugees coming to the U.S. have legitimate concerns. But she says the strict 18 to 24-month vetting process for refugees headed to the U.S. should temper any worries.
We've been receiving refugees for the past 35 years.
Ted Terry is the mayor of Clarkston, Georgia. Population 13,000, half of the town's residents are foreign-born. Many of them are refugees, who he says are the economic backbone of his community. He sees them not as a burden, but as an investment.
If you are thinking about the people around you as assets and as truly valuable and contributing members of our community, it's not draining at all. It's actually very, very energizing.
Nick Valencia, CNN, Clarkston, Georgia.
Well, for more insight on the impact of the immigration ban, we're joined now by immigration attorney Michael Wilds. He's represented the U.S. government in immigration proceedings and has worked for the Trumps. Great to have you with us, Michael. Just to clarify, are you still working with the Trumps on Melania's immigration?
I also represent some of the Trump organizations, Trump models and so forth. I have had the privilege of working on business visas for them for more than a decade, and Mrs. Trump most recently in the campaign election when her immigration status came at issue. I'm a proud card-carrying Democrat, so despite that political conflict, I've been able to navigate these waters. I'm a professor of immigration law, adjunct professor at Cardozo Law School in New York, and a second-generation immigration lawyer. My father was actually John Lennon's immigration lawyer, where this whole deferred action kind of evolved. So we have a lot to say on what's happening these last hours.
Wow, quite a few interesting connections there. With all that in mind, Michael, how do you view the immigration policy?
Well, we need clarification. No doubt the president is making good on a campaign promise and making a lot of people who need to feel safe. On the other hand, there is a very extensive vetting process at issue. I have a physician, you should know, from Iran that was just approved for a green card. He's in Italy doing some very delicate surgery, cancer surgery, and he can't get back to the United States now. So where are we when Section 3 of the executive order says aliens from those 7 targeted countries? Does that mean aliens who were born there? What about a dual national? What about somebody who has a green card? What about an American citizen who was born in one of those nations and has parents who are American citizens? There's a lot of clarification that needs to be done, and on this day, People are being held in detention centers, and again, it's not within the spirit of what I think the president actually wants to affect, or what our nation stands for as a beacon of immigration. Certainly, I take great issue with the stopping of refugee and the diminishment of the number from 110,000 under President Obama to 50,000. When there's this global crisis going on, we should not be stopping our responsibility in adding a hand to the humanitarian effort, much as the mayor who we saw a few moments ago in that clip sees foreign nationals as an engine and entrepreneurial spirit. These foreign nationals become Americans, and they employ Americans. We can't be scared of them. We fought pirates on the high seas with alien sedition acts in the 1700s. And we are and remain the moral compass of the world, and we shouldn't allow a band of pirates, whether it's ISIS or otherwise, change the demeanor and the character of our nation. So there is a process. This is a temporary ban, and I take the president at his word. And also, I'm given great comfort now that there is the plenary power historically in Congress where they can make legislation and either reverse this or administer it, because the power ultimately with immigration has always been vested in the United States Congress. He does have, the president, the authority to issue executive orders and state the standard with refugees, but if it is a national origins discrimination or actionable, Congress and the courts will respond.
Mr. Trump, of course, says this is about making America safer. Do you think this is about national security or prejudice?
Well, it depends how you look at the glass. Is it half full or half empty? I think we have to give the president a chance to state his case. He has the audacity, if you would, to coin radical terrorism for what it is. And it's been a long time in the offing that we actually call it for what it is. And a lot of other good people are going to be caught in the web. Perhaps there would have been a better way to handle this. In all truth, there are more than 11 million people here unlawfully. So if you're trying to stop new terrorist cells from developing, what about the ones that are here? The American Immigration Lawyers Association, of which my father was president in 1970, has come out with a comprehensive plan. Yes, we want to build walls, and yes, we want to stop terrorists from coming to our nation, but we historically have Lady Liberty with a beacon and a torch, and we have been an example at the United Nations and the world over in actually building bridges and using this entrepreneurial spirit to help bridge the new divide and to bring us into the new economy. So we are sending the wrong message. We have to make sure when it comes to the dreamers, the 820,000 people that are now here, but for the grace of God, and their parents, when they were brought in as children, are treated differentially. And for all those wonderful professionals and families that are now stuck in airports, who went on vacation. We have scores of clients from other nationalities that are calling us off the hook now, concerned whether or not they can go on a vacation or they'll be let back in. That's not the panic that was intended by the president. So while he may be making good on a campaign promise, the question is whether or not this is a poor reflection or the right step in the right direction. I would assume, because there are so many other executive orders and plans in the making, that there is a process and that we'll learn more of it in the coming hours.
Michael, you mentioned a couple of people that you know that are already being affected by this executive action. How do you think this is going to affect businesses in the short term?
I think it will stymie businesses from those areas. There is an exception for in the nation's security. So is it national security for us to get a physician who has a special treatment for cancer if he's hopping around Europe trying to save people's lives? You know, again, this is an ongoing process. I wish that they had done it comprehensively. It doesn't make sense to stop 7 countries, and it looks like they are targeting by national origin specific countries of a Muslim base, and that is quite offensive. But I think the president believes he does not have to be politically correct with a gun faced to America's citizens. And until we rid ourselves of ISIS, we're going to see more of this kind of conduct. We need to hunker down. People need to lawyer up properly if they're in the system. And I believe that there are going to be more, this will get worse before it gets better. That's just my instincts.
Michael Wouters, we appreciate your perspective on all of that.
Linda.
Thanks so much for joining us.
Pleasure.